Monday, May 16th. This is the Town of Norton Finance Committee meeting by remote participation. I'm going to take a quick roll call for the record. Paula?
Here.
Bonnie and Yelena will both be absent this evening. Steve?
Here.
Joe, let me know he might be joining a few minutes late. Kevin?
Here.
Zach?
Here.
Bill?
Here.
Beth? So Jeff? Cody?
Here.
Okay, that puts us at 7 of us so far. All right. Welcome to our friends from the Norton Public Schools and to Mr. Savas, the chairman of the school committee.
Hey, folks.
Mike, and here's Joe Parker joining us this very minute. What order do we have for things tonight? I will be honest that I do not have the agenda open in front of me.
Right. Well, if we could, for the first item, there's an article that has now been placed on the special town meeting warrant, and this is not going to require any new funds, but it's just a requirement in the MSBA, and either Joe or Matt can speak on this.
Go ahead, Matt.
Hi, everybody. So yeah, what this is the MSBA, in order for us to close out the project, they need us to have a vote that states that we have the $8.4 million project plus the $200,000 that was appropriated for the design to be in the same article. They don't recognize that the $200,000 exists once the 8.4 was voted. So in order for them to close out, we have to have a vote that has both of them in it. So this is just really a housekeeping article that we're moving forward just to say, yes, these are the two items for this project, and this will allow MSBA to then take that number, enter it into their system, and be able to close this project out.
And the select board did vote in support of this article.
Well, I mean, since we've already voted the appropriation and the state is holding the rest of the money hostage, it would be not to approve the article, wouldn't it?
Yes, we would appreciate it. Yeah.
All right. Does anyone have questions on this before we vote to recommend Article 10? All right. Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend Article 10 as written in the special town meeting warrant.
Madam Chair,
Bill?
I recommend we approve Article 10 as presented in the special town meeting.
All right, I have a motion. Is there a second? Oh.
I will second that.
Great, thanks, Joe. A motion and a second. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we will vote. Paula?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Cody?
Yes.
And I am a yes, so that is unanimous.
Excellent. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. And the next article, oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Is on the annual town meeting warrant. And I know that this was presented to the select board the other night to take this money out of ARPA. So it may not be necessary, but if the superintendent wants to speak on this.
It'll be withdrawn. It's either going with the ARPA or we have to go with Mass DEP. And we currently have an issue where we can't do the sewer connection because the drains on the roof at the Yale are connected to the sewer system, which is illegal. So we have to spend money to bring in an engineering firm, repipe that area, and then the connection could take place. So we requested ARPA funds to do the whole thing because it's in excess of $800,000.
Wow. So, Dr. Valletta, what you're saying is either way this article is going to be withdrawn, or
So if the select board doesn't vote to use the ARPA funds, then we would have to come back and redo the whole sewer project, probably for next year, because we're going to be required by law to move that out, and we have to do it. You got to bring in like a Weston and Sampson, do the redesign, figure out where things are, then disconnect those pipes. Then the water needs to be coming off the roof onto the soil, if you will, and then the connections can take place after that. It has to go in that order. We cannot do it the other way. So to address your question, we wouldn't be, we would probably either have to piecemeal this over 2 years. In other words, the disconnection on the rooftops would have to happen first, or it would be capital, or it would be borrowing. Those would be the options. I want to get out of the sewer business. That's a joke, but that's okay.
it seems like pretty serious to me.
Yeah, the issue that I have with it, to be quite honest, is that the way that the pipes come through the building, I mean, it may be that they're just capped, right, and filled. It may be that they have to be actually taken out. And part of that is what may or may not have asbestos. So
Awesome.
that's the other concern. We just don't know until you get behind those walls. So one of the ideas potentially would be to redesign it via the rooftop and getting everything out, and then just capping everything, and it's behind the walls. It's not a problem, if or not asbestos related.
Sorry, Dr.
That
Valletta.
building is, that's the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it? It's in too good of shape to replace, but it's like a 15-year-old car that you got to put $3,000 into every time you turn it
Yeah,
around.
you know, the internal pipes things was a real surprise, for lack of a better phrase. That school basically is going to need some new flooring and a new roof eventually, and it's pretty solid. I mean, it's a pretty solid school in terms of it's the window project wouldn't have taken place with MSBA supporting it if they thought that the building didn't have 30 to 40 years. It's just, it is like things that have gone untouched for years. We just recently got $25,000 from the insurance company for all the tiles that were kicking up in the wintertime that need to be replaced. Remember the asbestos situation, which wasn't taken care of the first time, which led to the situation we had with the window project. And we're probably going to need some funds for the potential asbestos that could be part of train stuff that takes place with new heating system going into that building and the other two buildings. So it is like it's the nice truck that you like, but you got to put in $2,000 or $3,000 every year. Unfortunately, in this case, it's a lot more than that. I apologize. I am home with the Rona. I finally got me. So
Well, I hope you're feeling all right.
yeah, I just sore throat and sniffles. Nothing big.
All right. Cody, did you have a question?
I did, sorry. My question was for the request for the ARPA funds for the 800,000, is that inclusive of all of the work that would be needed to remediate the roof water situation and tie in to the sewer?
That's the estimate now, correct?
Okay.
Barring any other surprises that come with that.
And if that doesn't get approved, or the funds don't, if that 800,000 estimate isn't enough, would you be coming back later with another Article 9 like similar to Article 9 in
Right.
fall town meeting for
Right.
whatever additional funds are needed for the sewer tie-in?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
The biggest upfront expenditure, probably somewhere in the 35,000 is just having the experts come in and really look at what's going on. And then we could get lucky. We could find out that if there were 7 pipes, that 5 of them aren't connected. All of a sudden, we don't have as big of a problem. But that can't be done until they really take a look at the Yale School. Is one of those schools, to go to Amy's comment earlier, that blueprints just aren't around. They're not at town hall, they're not with us, so there's a lot of second guessing that takes place, or best guessing that takes place, to the best that we can. We know where the asbestos is in the building. We've dealt with that, as you know, pretty regularly, but again, that becomes the question mark.
Joe has the fountain of youth walled off in one of the back rooms. He's going to start sharing one of these days.
Madam
Mr.
Chair?
Toole, I think you have a question. Oh, Mike can go, then Paula can go.
You're on mute, Mike.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Bayetta, just for clarification points for us, because I know you did present this to us, the 500 and whatever the tie-in, that was originally passed in the debt exclusion for the 3 projects, and the I&I is something that was never on anyone's radar, and that's 282,000. And I know the projects are you can't do, you have to fund one of them, or both of them. And I know the school projects funding is getting tight, but is that an accurate statement of the way that I came out of last week?
So the athletic complex committee received what was then became a tentative proposal, in general from Gale on what the costs were. And what was starting to happen was the costs have escalated significantly, as we all know is what's happening. It's the same thing with the turf field situation. But the real curveball became, I can't do anything with this athletic complex without taking care of the building issue. It's illegal for me to do that. So right now it's being moved forward where at minimum, the 2 connections never take place, and we just continue doing what we're doing. We don't connect to the sewer line with solids. And at minimum, the water situation at the Yale has to be addressed.
No, and Madam Chair, one more just to follow up.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay. So my understanding is right that, I know that the school was looking for the full 800,000 out of the ARPA. We haven't discussed exactly the allocations, but it is 282, which was never on anyone's radar, but the 500 and tie-in. So if the ARPA funds, the select board decided to fund the 282, the I&I, which they may decide to fund the whole thing, but if they decide to do just the I&I, is there still money to do the tie-ins through the project?
Currently, the project, without anything hitting the ground yet, is got the original 800,000 contingency is at $300,000, under 300. I think it's 257. Matt might have the number in front of him. That's what's in contingency from the original 800,000 in contingency, because of what the projects of the cost of the project. We have also moved a number of other items, 3 other items, into what's called add-ons for the project. They're originally in the bid, but right now they may not happen because of cost. I think you heard Mike the other night. Thinking I attended the building committee's comments about a number of items to do with sewers that, quote, weren't in their project, filing of records that weren't in their project. We've already made cuts to our project. So if ARPA doesn't come through and the town decides that it's only using it to take care of the required situation, then we don't connect, which is, totally fine. That's kind of my attitude on it. It's a long-standing issue. We're not asking as an article for town meeting for more funds, because we all know that that's going to be, quote, above and beyond. But based upon what I am seeing in this project and 2 other projects that have to happen in town, there's going to be some significant cuts to what the original proposals were just based on cost.
Thank you, Dr. Beata. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Paula.
Dr. Beata, did I mishear you on, did you say that there's a possibility of possible funds from DEP to help with this? Did you not say that?
No, there's no DEP funds. There's simply DEP getting involved in requiring us to do all of this. The same situation
Okay.
that's happening at the middle school where so far the chemical situation is eased off, but we have a potential request that we need to turn the middle school into a septic system from a leaching field because the sewer connection still doesn't go all the way down to the middle school.
And what's the estimated cost to the school every year for not tying in? Because isn't there a cost for us to remove the solids or whatever?
Yeah, I don't have that number in front of me, but I can have Matt email it to you tomorrow morning. It's not a significant cost, but the idea is also to connect because we would be a user. But you're damned in this particular case. I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't.
Right.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Zach.
I guess the problem I have with this this whole sewer project is that it's more transparency and honesty to the taxpayer. We funded the sewer project on the override, and that was put in there. So if we have a cost overrun, we should say, hey, everything's went up and we have a cost overrun. We're trying to disguise as a sewer project when it was already in the bill. I mean, it was already discussed. There are plenty of minutes from every committee. You get plenty of meetings. Everybody, it's no big secret. And now we have a sewer project. The sewer project was already funded. People
So
already voted for it.
Zach, how much was cut from the high school project that you voted for, but you didn't get?
What do you mean? You cut it back.
I didn't cut it back. I wasn't here for that. I came into a project that
What are you talking
had
about? The fields, or you're talking about the
I'm
high
talking
school?
about the high
Oh,
school
I don't
project.
even know. That's
Right, but my point is, the other night we heard. First of all, I take exception to the comment that it's not being transparent. I call that out completely. But that said,
no, we can agree to disagree.
that's good. So the issue becomes every project that you get. You just heard about it the other day. A connection across the street for the new town hall will not take place. And quote, you're going to have to go get more funds for it. That's what happened the other night. So I don't know how that's different than this project.
I'm not saying that that's right either.
So
I'm
the
saying,
fact is,
was there
so you-
sewer funds put into the original proposal? Yes or no?
yes. We
Okay,
asked
so
for
this is a cost
500,000.
overrun. So just tell the public the truth. We've had a cost overrun. Not try to disguise it like, well, we didn't know about the sewer. And it's kind of, that's
Well,
what
we
I don't
didn't-
like.
I can't do the sewer connection without the building situations, and that's just going to
That's a whole different issue. That came up afterwards. That's a whole.
Oh.
You didn't know about that. I got that. But I'm saying we had a cost overrun, and if that wasn't the case, let's say that you don't get the ARPA funds. Are you going to have an extra $500,000 that were allocated to sewer left over? No, because you have overruns on the fields. Just tell the truth.
We have 250. I believe it's 257. I'll get you the
And
exact
how much
number.
was allocated for sewer on that project?
The sewer project originally went in as part of the project, which took the project from 5.6 to 6.3 million. The ask, and then the sewer
Correct.
project went awry. And we still have
I got
other
that.
items that are.
But that's not
going to be funded.
what we're discussing here. I mean, this is now, so you had 700,000 in theory. If you didn't do the sewer project, you'd have 700,000. So you have a
Right,
cost
so
overrun. That's
so
all.
the
Just
so
tell
the
the public
intent
that.
so the intent is leave the school department completely out of ARPA funds, millions of dollars, which was
No,
a
I didn't say
discussion
that.
already happened.
I didn't say that.
It's free
That's
money.
not my
that's available.
decision. I'm just saying how we present it. I like to be open and transparent. We had 700,000. We went over budget. Fine. Just tell the public that. Don't try to tell them like this was never in the project and all of a sudden now we need money to do sewer. That's not right. You want to disagree, disagree. We can agree to disagree. That's
When
my
you do
problem.
it, when you do a project
I
and you
get
get
that.
X number,
But
you're gonna
that's
let
not
me
what
finish,
this.
or you're gonna control the whole argument because you're talking for both sides now.
Go ahead.
Please. The fact of the matter is, I've done $200 million worth of public projects sitting on your side of the table and sitting on my side of the table. And every single one of those projects has said X, Y, Z, A, B, C. And every single one of those projects, the decision is to do one of two things. You either have a cost overrun or you cut the project back. Those are the two options. I put an article on the town meeting not knowing about the ARPA funds originally at all. Then the ARPA funds became a discussion. Those discussions are on the table. If the town doesn't want to do the ARPA funds, the athletic committee and the school committee has already cut it from the project. It happened as soon as we saw the costs, right before the cost, because Gail was telling us it's not going to happen, guys. The current project has under $300,000 available to it, and the shovel hasn't even hit the ground. So we don't even know what that means. We are going to probably have to cut other things. In the same way that every building project that I've been on, you either, quote, have an overrun or you make the cut. We made over $2 million worth of cuts at the high school project for all kinds of things that we told the taxpayers was going to happen. It didn't happen. I was involved with almost $1 million of it because of not only overruns, but most of it because of change orders, which hopefully doesn't happen in this project. So the decision is not to not be transparent. The decision was we had to make a cut. We didn't want to go with a cost overrun. We figured out that there was an ARPA fund. The town doesn't want to do that. I still have a situation with the Yell that can either go through the ARPA, as was just suggested by Mr. Toole, or not, and we can come back and plan to go in another direction. Those are the options that I have.
I'm not arguing ARPA funds at all. I'm not arguing that you shouldn't do the project. I'm not arguing that the funds shouldn't be there. I'm just arguing the way this is played. I don't like it.
Okay, Zach, I've been trying to get your attention for about 5 minutes. You are arguing with everyone. So I'm going to take back control of the meeting, and I'm going to say that I have a few things I'd like to share, including the fact that we need to not be answering our own questions while we're also asking them. Thank you. Now, I have a question, and I would like to know why we would even consider kicking the can on this again. Because we have kicked the can on this project for like 5 years. And I know that that's a somewhat rhetorical question, but, you know, we have had this problem with the sewers at the high school and the Yell and the middle school. We've been talking about it for 5 years. I don't know why we would not fund this now. And with that, go ahead, Mike.
So I guess to Tellus's point, I guess where I'm concerned is one of the things with the ARPA money was that we saw this as an opportunity to invest in other departments that didn't have access to some of the CARES Act funds, didn't have access to ARSA monies, did not have access to this. That's why the ARPA funds, when we originally were looking at them, Dr. Bader is correct. We did not make a first pass at the school. And, you know, maybe that was wrong. And I will admit that, you know, as a member of the board, you know, I'll own that one. But now that we got their list and we had the meeting last week, but one of the concerns, back to Ms. Tellus's point, is this was funded in the override. So there is more, right? There's some cost overrides. And we know that there's going to be an excess of about $250,000 if the sewers aren't done. So that would only bring the money down, probably if you did the I&I in that, to about $400,000. But the school's asking for $800,000. You can take $500,000.
So Michael, what would prevent us from just rolling this $500,000 into the debt exclusion? We approved one number, 3 projects, one number. Why don't we just roll it in and sort it out at the end? And then if there's an overrun on the total, there's an overrun on the total, and we vote to approve all of it, or none of it, or whatever, or we cut things from the other projects. But it seems like we are cutting things early because the fields are going first.
Yeah, no, and like the I&I, and I'm not even saying that I'm not gonna vote in favor of the full sewer tie-in, but it sounds like this is the first I'm hearing that there's actually the first I can recall hearing that there is going to be about $250,000 after the overrides. so we should apply that and so forth. But I don't want to make it sound like it made it, and I don't think this is Dr. Vita's intention, that the town just kind of was like, oh, forget the schools. Well, the reason we didn't include the schools first funds because there was a lot of grant money available to schools, including the CARES Act money, and different departments like fire and police did not get access to those grants the first time around. So we focused on the ERSA money, the ARPA money on that end. So I'll land it there. And I know there's a lot of tension here, so I don't want to. If anyone has any questions for me, they can.
Michael, just to respond briefly, the biggest issue with our project currently is that our project has come in at a price. That price has a contingency left in it that could be used at any moment, but it can't be used to say that there's 500,000 for the sewer. We cut other things as well. I mean, we cut, like, for example, on standby right now is anything and everything to do with the types of brick and the type of bushes and stuff. We put that all off to the side as independent individual line item costs, because that's how you do it when you do add-on situations. The other part is because of the roof situation, if in fact it doesn't get done separately, then the project, it's going to go up another $1 million because I can't stop the project right now. I cannot stop this project. So the scenario is no on the ARPA funds for the sewer. That's a decision that folks can make. I'll call it a cost overrun and ask for more money from somewhere. B, just do the building, which is required for me to do. And I'm sure at some point I'll get the letter, just like I did with the middle school, that it needs to be done within a time frame. And then the tie-in doesn't happen, which means the situation is that the tie-in, the sewer line stays underneath, which is fine. It's being built with the understanding that that happens. And then it can be backfilled later if it needs to be. And it's capped on either end. And each building goes individually onto West Main. But you can't stop. I can't stop the athletic complex project from moving.
No, and I understand that, Dr. Bader. I guess I'm just a little taken back on the withdrawal of the article, because right now we obviously need all the options available to realize that money. I feel like the removal of that article says nope. We need to use the ARPA money, and that's the only option there is.
No.
That's my intent.
So, Michael, that's not my philosophy at all. My philosophy differs from Zach's. I believe I've been given an X number of dollars, and I have to work with those number of dollars to be able to get the project to fruition. That's what I did at the high school when I came in at phase 3 of 5 phases. That's what I did in a district that I left. That's what I did with the window project and the roof project at the JCS. Was we have to make difficult decisions around things that don't get done. Then I found out about the ARPA funds, which are under the control of the select board. I'm fine with that. So that's the reason for the removal of the article. If then the next thing happened, we were told about the whole situation with the roof at the Yale. Yet another decision was made. But we don't want, to Zach's point, I don't want to go back and say, there's a cost overrun, I need more money here. I'm utilizing 2 scenarios. 1, the ARPA funds, if available. 2, I got a bigger issue actually with the sewer connection, which is the building issue. So that's the timeline for us. And we simply, we offered, as you know, Mike, I believe through Mike Unitz's office, $4 million worth of projects. We eliminated every single project as a recommendation except for this one. And one of the reasons is it does say there's a lot of verbiage in the ARPA that talks about sewer connections and that type of stuff. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Dr. Bader. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
No problem. Michael, Cody Thompson's been waiting very patiently to ask a question, but what can I do for you?
No, I was just going to say that, the article is on here specifically for the reason for transparency, so you could have this conversation. It wasn't like we just went to the ARPA funds and didn't have the conversation. It's here so you can have this conversation.
Cody, what is your question as a part of this conversation?
Thank you. So my question was, is the request for the 800,000 of ARPA funds, that's inclusive of the original 500 and change that was allocated in the debt exclusion, plus another 280,000 for the I&I remediation of whatever the rainwater issue is at the Yell. If the select board were to give you the ARPA funds to remediate the I&I situation, would you still be on budget, or we would for the sewer connection once you've remediated that? If you use it takes 280,000, do you still have the 500 and change within the budget, or you're currently using that as part of the projected overages where you only have 200 and change?
Yeah, so the project, Cody, completely changes in terms of cutting $500,000 worth of A, B, C, D, E, F, G versus the sewer line. So currently, the contingency, which was expected to be in the $800,000 range, is currently at somewhere between 200,000 and 300,000. Again, I'll have Matt email you guys tomorrow what the exact number is. And that's after we took 3 other items off the table as well.
So did the 800,000 in contingency, was that after accounting for the projected connection with the sewer, or was the sewer included within that 800,000?
No, that would have been the original 800,000 is the original project way before the voters looked at it, and then it came down slightly, not a whole lot, and then the final number on the actual project came in on the bid significantly higher than anticipated. So we think that the decision that was made was grounded on 2 things. Number one, there are 5 to 6 different scenarios of how to get to this project. We made decisions all along to get to a certain cost. It was down to 5.6 or 5.7, which became 6.3 for the sewer, and then the prices just completely went in another direction. So the decision was presented to the athletic complex. I think Paula was there. It was a day I was not able to be there, but my team was there. And we went through the whole thing, and basically they said, this is what the project's going to look like, but we're not going to get the sewer on this. That was the discussion that took place at the AC meeting.
Okay, so it was originally 6.3 inclusive of the sewer, and then when the bids came in, you're looking at like 6.1 without the sewer.
And remember that the bids did in all 4 bids, the discussions that happened outside of the bid process was that the sewer lines weren't even going to be connected because of the cost.
Okay. Thank you.
So just to share with everybody, the contingency we have is 262,000. Gail recommends about a 10% contingency on a project of this size. So it would be about 570,000 that we should be carrying as a contingency, but we only have 262.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Paula.
Dr. Bayetta, would it be fair to say if we had to cut 500,000 more from this project, the project's not going to look like what the town voted on?
Well, the problem is exactly that, is you're looking at, for example, most of the things that we're doing are not $20,000 items and $5,000 items. They're hundreds of thousands. For example, the turf, the track, the lighting. The lighting itself is $600,000. So those are and if you remember, there was a discussion at one point to do the sewer, not the lighting. That took place as well.
Right. Kids can play in the dark, but we'll fix the sewer.
Right.
Those will be the choices we'll have to make.
Those are the discussions that we also had. So we currently have small $35,000 items that are off to the side. We stayed within the issue of safety, specifically around netting and fencing. As you know, the fencing is important because there are fields that get destroyed by cars who decide to go onto these fields. So that's the process that we use.
All right. Are there any additional questions about the sewer article? None. Mike, is this, you want us to vote to recommend the article? You want us to wait to vote about the article, but now we know what the story is?
I would wait until after the next select board meeting.
Okay, I like that idea.
Madam Chair, information, we're going to be talking about the opera funds the next select board meeting. So,
Okay, so that's Wednesday night.
that's correct.
A week from Wednesday.
A week from Wednesday, not the day after tomorrow, but a week from Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we will have another entire meeting before they talk about this.
Yes.
You make us sound lazy.
Not at all. I'm simply just confirming that we are meeting the 23rd. You are meeting the 25th. Then we will not be meeting on the 30th because it's Memorial Day.
Thank you.
And with that, having said that out loud, I just want to tell everyone that we do tentatively have a meeting scheduled for Tuesday the 31st because of the Monday holiday. And Bill is making a funny face looking like, why not Wednesday? Because when we don't have a Monday meeting, we have a Wednesday meeting. But we can't anymore because the select board now meets on Wednesday. They used to meet on Thursdays. We could meet on Wednesdays. But they have ruined our whole mojo with themselves.
Heard loud and clear, Madam Chair.
It's all good. That's fine. All right. So what is next? What do we need to do? I mean, other than searching the couch cushions for $500,000, what do we need to do next?
Are you talking about on this article or our next item?
Oh, just, life in general. The next item I think is fine.
All right. So this is a draft of budget supplements. And if the superintendent wants to talk, I'm not sure. I know these were being worked on, so this is just a draft.
So I can speak to it, Mike, if you'd like, and Matt's on as well. We're in what I would say is a budgetary pickle. I currently have 13 staff out on FMLA. That's 60 days fully paid, plus the backup of substitutes. These are not, $80 a day substitutes. They have to be licensed and so on and so forth. We've had over 20 FMLAs this year, including not just the traditional birth, but we do have a number of significant medical conditions with staff, including cancer and so on and so forth. So we got some pretty significant overruns. We have tried everything to bring this number down. We are not asking you to vote this number yet. I think this is one of those numbers we're going to continue to figure out how to massage it every week and every day by taking from here and taking from there. We do have line items that are at zero already. And then the last part is it's still over a month of school left. And that's somewhat concerning. Substitute pay is up, as you probably have figured out through what we've had to do like every other school system in the area. And the amount of COVID substitution is pretty significant. And any of us who have kids in a school system, that, like, for example, I'm out 5 days this week. So if I was a classroom teacher, I can't come back until Monday. Tested positive yesterday, 5 days. I can come back wearing a mask on Monday. So that's 5 days at $100 a day. That's one teacher. That's $500 right off the bat. That doesn't include all my other sicknesses. So this is the biggest concern with some of this is the backfills that we've had to do throughout the year, from the beginning of the year until now. We'll continue to massage it because we would prefer to have those funds available for the future, based on our budget. But I also have to have a level budget before the end of the year. So we'll probably be coming to you on that 31st meeting with hopefully a better number, or we'll do what we did a number of years ago, which is to give you an email about how the number's going, and then wait until the half hour before town meeting to give you our biggest quote projection. It'll be a lot easier then because town meeting is late. So we will know most of our payroll issues if we're using the 7th to the 21st. So that's a good thing. Sorry, I got the storm coming through here in New Hampshire where I am. So if I lose electricity.
Can I just ask, is the 30,000 part of the opera, Joe?
Yeah, yes, that 30,000 shouldn't be there, Mike. We should clean it out because that was part of the Weston Sampson. So we should clean that up.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's all I have.
Anyone have questions on the supplements for Dr. B?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Kevin.
just going back to the quick comment I had last week about that expense for snow removal and that those FEMA funds for that big January storm where we got 30 inches, is any of that 137 tied to that storm we could have seek FEMA funds for?
I don't know if we will receive any FEMA funds. I mean, they're looking at that now, the emergency management. And if you do see FEMA funds, it'll probably be in 2 years. They're not very quick.
Woohoo! All right, thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we won't hold the bills until then.
No.
Any other questions? Hey.
And then next, discussion on the FY23 school budget.
All right, I'll make it a continuation of a celebration of good news from the school department. So we will not meet level services this year, as you know, or you probably guess. We will also not meet level services within our special education or our mandates budget, and that is very, very concerning. That's a first one for me in all the years that I've been here. So we will zero out all of our grants and federal assistance to stay somewhat whole, and we'll cut currently just under $450,000 from our budget to be balanced. That will include fee increase recommendations. That will include, I'm just reading, expense lines, contract services. We will see class size increases in certain grades. I'm concerned about out of district because that's usually what happens when we have these types of budgets. The continuation of the acceleration services for students, that's been free, that'll be gone. And we will take a look at cutting back on some transportation and use of buildings to see if we can save money on materials and supplies. And we are probably in the vicinity of $2.8 million of non-recurring money for FY24, even better news. So we will probably be coming back at the annual, the fall town meeting. My biggest concern is here I am at home. And today I got an email about an out-of-district placement that my budget presentation to you is now, that I originally made to you folks, is now 2 out-of-districts in the hole at 6 figures. So that just makes my my cut situation. So I will be taking from one budget to complete the other budget.
anyone
And
have
then we'll-
questions on the school budget for Dr. B? Oh, sorry, Joe, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say that it's my understanding we're having a meeting after town meeting to have some discussions. But at 2%, as you know from the line items from our budget, it's a hefty push, and we are still in negotiations with our biggest union. Which is, so that you know, it's now the teachers and the paras in one contract. They are represented as a whole, not as two parts. And if you haven't heard the news, and my favorite business manager is leaving, so add to that.
I was very sad to see that.
So that's going to be
Congratulations to him.
very, very interesting summer for the superintendent's office.
Can he give you the hat before he leaves?
I already have one, my friend. I already have one. So that's it. It's not good news, but we will. I know Mike was still looking to balance the budget. Never mind, try to see if there's anything left for the school department. But that's where we're at right now. But it is a first for us, not having a number that even takes care of our mandated issues, so that's concerning.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Paula.
Dr. Bayetta, you mentioned possible increase in some class sizes. Does that mean some teacher cuts?
Yeah, we're going to try to limit teacher cuts in the classroom at all, but we will be looking, as you know, we've hired certain positions to support absences and all of that. So we'll have somewhere around 8 to 10 FTEs. It won't create a huge unemployment line, but there are probably going to be some folks on that line, unless they're able to be backfilled into a retirement position, and then there would be no cost to the town because I'd hired them for the retirement position. All the retirement positions have to be filled. They're all direct classroom, special education. We got a building principal already, but the other 4 are all 2 are specialized staff and 2 are classroom teachers.
But it's not always easy. You can't move a science teacher into an English classroom.
No, and so what we'll do is, for example, if we have a situation of X teacher in X grade leaving, and we have a long-term sub that was covering for somebody for 6 months or for the year, we'll consider that candidate, if they've been a good long-term sub for us, we'll consider that candidate to fill. Thereby, on the 21st of June, on the 22nd of June, they can start collecting. We would give them that letter prior to that, and now they can't collect. So that's just saves. It doesn't create as big of a line item. I did hear today in another meeting about some further federal assistance, including increases in some of the traditional compliance grants. So we'll see what that actually means. But I do think that as a town, we have to have a discussion about this Student Opportunity Act, where we're only getting $60 per student versus a nearby community is getting $1,400 per student. And it's because of free and reduced lunch, and it's because of this and because of that. And I just want to know if these school districts are actually going to expend those monies in those areas, because they're getting those funds for very specific reasons. It's not like, here, you get $1 million. It's, you have more ELL students. You have more students who are within poverty and all of that. And that's not us. I mean, we are growing in those populations, but that's just, so we have 138 districts in the Commonwealth that are getting $60 per student. And the other 150 districts in the Commonwealth are getting millions. One particular inner city district that's not your typical urban is getting $25 million increase to their budget. So something's not right. So as soon as as you know, the school committee has to vote the budget after the town meeting, because you got to get the appropriate, then they vote. So that very next meeting, we'll have some more details and specifics, and they'll continue to get that information. I'm very reluctant to start announcing, that we're going to cut this and cut that, because that just causes people to go haywire. We are already seeing the loss of good teachers. I will tell you that last week I offered, the week before and last week, I offered 2 candidates, 2 positions, and within 5 days they were no longer with Norton Public Schools. So people are shopping, they're looking at cost, they're asking for money that back in my day we wouldn't be asking for, right? You can't be a teacher that's going into your 5th year of experience asking for a master's step 10. But that's what they're doing. It's very much a hired gun, and districts are pulling the trigger on it.
I mean, what I'm hearing from you, Joe, is very similar to what we've already heard from Chief Clark and Chief Simmons, that we are no longer offering competitive salaries for jobs within this town, whether they are with the school system or public safety, or, we've had some turnover at town hall as well. So
I agree.
I don't know how we fix that in our current budget situation, but it's expensive to not be able to keep good people.
So my concern is, to your point, and I agree with my colleagues on the other side that are running departments. There's 2 problems. One, it's trying to catch up with salary, but as important, you're getting the double whammy. There's nobody in the pipeline. When the state college system is graduating less than 5-10 kids a year that are certified to be math science teachers at the high school level, out of 29 schools, there's something wrong. They're just not there. Our application pool for an elementary teacher, when I got to Norton, we get 350 applicants for one grade 3 position. You're lucky if you can get 100. And within that 100, you got the resumes of in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. I don't want to spend yet another year of trying to figure out if somebody's very good or not. But those are not your problem. Those are my problem.
Well, except it's all of our problem when we don't have enough teachers to run a school.
Yeah, the concern is the pipeline and the pay. And listen, the cutthroating is going to be, I know I sound like I'm whining, but I'm not whining. I'm just telling you the reality of what's happening in my field right now is cutthroat. And if you're willing to do the same thing, that's what's going to happen. And we're always going to lose out, to any of those districts that do pay, $107,000 for a master's degree and 10 years of experience. That's not what we're asking for. Not to say that people aren't worth it, but that's not us. But the days of hiring somebody at step 1 are almost no one comes in at step 1. You're either stealing from somebody, or, and you folks pay my salary and my mortgage. So therefore it's my job to find the best candidates to put in front of kids. So if I have to steal from somebody, I'm not necessarily loved at times by my own colleagues because I'm stealing one of their best teachers.
Anyone
Madam
have
Chair?
questions for Dr. Baeta? Go ahead, Kevin.
Dr. Beta, when you say are we losing to the 138 other districts that are kind of in the same boat
Oh,
as
sure.
us in
Yeah.
regards to funding, or is it the higher funded districts, or is it both?
It's both. It's both. Like, for example, it's not unusual for us to gain somebody from X city or town and then also lose one of ours to a town that's more money and closer to home, but they're one of the 138. And I can think of a couple of them around it. So, and when you look at it, the issue is not necessarily only money. It could be travel that's added to that. And the problem is you don't have the competition. I mean, it's not unusual in the good days for us to have 3, 5, 7 really good candidates for one position and really have to like sit in a room and talk about it for an hour to figure out which one you're going to offer the job to. That's not really what's going on now. If somebody is got the credentials, good letters of reference, you can make that phone call and you're offering right there and then.
And one of the biggest problems is you schedule people for interviews and they just don't come.
Oh, they don't even show up.
They don't call you, they just don't come. It's amazing.
And I'll tell you, it's not just a classroom issue. Try to hire a custodian. Try to hire an administrative assistant. Try to hire and you're saying you're going to pay them $19 an hour, and they just go, nope, no thanks. So, and I know it's different on the town side than it is on the school side. I understand that it's a lot harder to make the fix on the town side, I guess. But that long term, there's worry here.
Anyone else have questions for Dr. Byetta?
I know you guys have a tough job. You got to balance the budget. So for town meeting can do whatever town meeting does, but we'll go in with big smiles ear to ear and move on. Zach, you're buying after town meeting for yelling at me.
No problem, Joe. Not personal.
Gotcha. Right back at you.
All right. Any other questions? Dr. B, for Matt? Answered this for joining us this evening.
Have a great night and celebrate May. That's all I got for you.
Thanks all.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Hey, everyone.
All right, Mike, what do you have for us next?
All right. So next I have one other article on the special town meeting warrant. The selectmen took this up the other night, and they did not recommend. It was a 2-2 vote. So this article is a charter amendment. So it would require a town meeting vote and a vote at the ballot box.
So, because we've already had our town election, does that mean that it would wait till next April?
Correct.
Okay, we wouldn't have to have a special election just for that?
No. So this article provides two things. I'm trying to get it to it. So would amend the charter where it says that the select board shall appoint a town manager, and it adds in for a term up to 3 years. And a second item on this, it puts in, I'm trying to see it here. Oh, so in the charter right now, it says the select board by the affirmative votes of 4 members may terminate and remove or suspend the town manager from office. This would add a new line that says the non-reappointment of the town manager at the conclusion of the town manager's term of appointment should not be considered a removal within the meaning of this section. And those are the changes.
I'm trying to wrap my brain around what the sentence, the non-reappointment of the town manager at the conclusion of the town manager's term of appointment shall not be considered a removal within the meaning of this section.
So in other words, I guess what that would say is that if the town manager's contract is not being renewed at the conclusion of the town manager's term of appointment, it would be a 3-2 vote to remove the town manager rather than a 4-1 vote.
Madam Chair.
Give me 1 second, Mike.
Yeah.
So, Mike Eunice, if I am interpreting this correctly, and then we'll have Michael Toole confirm for us. By a 3-2 vote at the end of the contract term of a town manager, the select board would be able to either vote to extend the town manager's contract to a new term or not renew the town manager's contract, at which point ties with the town manager would be severed.
Correct.
Okay, this is just a little, the wording is a little confusing.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Toole, did you have an update for us on this?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Just one of the challenges that we found and was just kind of, at the end of a contract, and there was say that the majority of the board did not want to renew the contract, but we did not have a supermajority. We could not remove the town manager. So we wanted to make it so it was, what was being proposed was that it would be changed from a supermajority just to a simple majority. That's what section 2. And section 1 is just max 3-year term.
So in the event that the select board wants to either retain or change the town manager at the end of a contract period, all that is needed is a simple majority. Should the select board wish to terminate the town manager during the contract period, not at its end, a supermajority of 4 votes would be required.
Correct. And there was a lot of debate on this, some discussion about this, and the sense was number 2. It's the article in its whole. The board was split, and in regards to, and I think that retains to more section 1, meaning the term, the how many years a town manager serves. We can handle that in a contract. There was support for the second part, so that's why it was a split decision on that, just to give the finance committee some understanding.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Steve.
So I guess I don't understand. We just got through a conversation saying how difficult it is potentially to hire people. And now we're potentially going to limit a term for one of the most important positions that we may have in town. So it's a little bit confusing. I mean, 3 years for that position, 2 years, you're probably just getting information under your belt, getting the budgets ready, and then the next year you're potentially gone. I just don't see where this is helping the town in any way whatsoever. Personally, I'm looking at it and I'm starting to feel that this might be, we're muddying the person in the position versus the position, which is disappointing.
Steve, I think it's interesting because I would look at it from the complete opposite perspective, where if we were hiring a brand new town manager, I'm not sure I would want to commit to more than 3 years, not knowing what kind of performance they might have. People can say anything in an interview, right? And I mean, I feel like this is a super awkward conversation to be having with Michael Eunice on the phone with us, and completely taking him as the person out of this conversation. If we were hiring a brand spanking new town manager the week after next, would you want to sign that person to a 5-year contract, never having worked with them before?
Depending on the interview, Amy, I think I probably would go that route. And I'm looking at all the other towns. We just went through and hired a contract for 10 years. We just extended terms for 10 years. So just a little bit of consistency. You know, I don't understand with all the other positions as far as these contracts or agreements that we have, but we're not really being consistent.
Madam Chair.
I'm gonna go with Cody first, and then you, Michael.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. I just had a question on if the term is up to 3 years and that's approved, is it within the contract? Is it automatically that if they're removed by a supermajority vote, they still get paid out? So that's
the way I believe. At least the current town manager's contract is written.
I mean, but that could be, is that part of the negotiation in that? I mean, that's where I would have, you know, I'd have reservations on saying, okay, let's approve up to 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. But then you get into a situation, if the town manager, current company excluded, if any town manager that is on a 3-year or 5-year or 10-year deal isn't performing and gets removed, you still have to pay them under that contract. And the longer the term that you agree to, the more money it is out of the pocket of our taxpayers for someone that's not doing anything. So that would be my reservation.
All right, Michael Toole, you're up.
Yeah, I think to point out Steve's thing and Steve's points is we talked about hiring someone new. This would also, section 1 would limit us if we had the, and I joked with Mike Units about this, if we had the Michael Jordan of town managers, we would only be allowed to renew his contract for 3 years. The first section is definitely can be handled in contract. And then section 2, I think, is kind of closing the loop here. But what I think that this would be is a recommendation to be, I think this was rushed. The select board only saw this for one meeting and explained at one meeting. I personally feel that it should be sent back to committee, but that will be up to you to decide.
So if we tabled this until after your next meeting, would you be reviewing this potentially on the, whatever that day is, the 25th?
This article failed on the select board.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Joe.
This is for Mr. Toole. Is there, or Mike Units, I guess, is there any possibility to amend this article and vote on it again before town meeting, or is it just out from the select board's point of view?
If I can, Madam Chair, or Mike Units.
Go ahead.
I probably wouldn't support it for this town meeting. I would definitely support it for a later town meeting. It definitely needs more. I think it needs a little more sharpening pencil. I don't think limiting the term of 3 years. I think that can be handled with contractual. I think section 2 really has to be talked about on versus supermajority versus majority. You know, I can see that both ways. I necessarily wouldn't be in favor of rushing this forward to get it done just to get it done. And we have time before the next election. We do have the fall meeting before the next election. So that would be, if you were asking me as a member of the select board, and I don't want to speak for the select board, we're not in turn here. I would say send this back to committee to kind of look at it and revisit it.
But you believe it would be for the fall town meeting? There would be not enough time to really discuss it and approve it for
this. Yeah, I don't think between budgets.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Zach.
2 questions. One, is there currently any probationary period in hiring a town manager? If he comes in, is there like a year's time before he's tenured? or is this contract in full force from day one?
It's typically contracted from day one.
And secondly, not to put Mike Unit to the spot, but when is the current town manager's contract expired? I don't know what the term is. With any of these changes may take effect.
So this the renewal is due in June, and his current contract ends in December.
But per the contract, you have to give him a renewal in June. So if this isn't amended now,
I don't think we're going to renew him in June.
so if this isn't touched right now, he would be renewed if the select board decided so under the old terms.
This does not affect the current time period that we have laid out for the current town manager. It's so weird talking about him in front of him in the third person.
No, these are just general questions, though. I mean,
so yes, so yeah, it would not affect that because it would need to be enacted. It would need to go through, and by then we will have either given a renewal or non-renewal and/or signed a new contract.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Bill.
And just for clarification, with having to notify by June, that contract duration is then for how long? 3 years, 5 years?
It is up to the board to decide the term.
So historically, and forgive me, Mike, I don't remember how long you've actually been our town manager, but how often have we come up for renewal?
This is a 5-year. He's currently in a 5-year contract.
Okay.
And prior to that was a 3-year contract. And I think that answers it. I'm trying to make it so Mike doesn't have to answer his own questions about this article.
Thank you.
And this wouldn't take effect until it'd have to be voted next April. So.
Right, it has to go to a ballot vote anyway. So even if it's approved at town meeting, it won't take place in time for the current renewal of Mike Units' contract anywho. Right. Any other questions about this article? Hearing none.
Chair, the school committee chair has a question.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, sorry, it's not a question, it's more a comment. To waylay Cody's fears, I think, of the financial commitment, the wording is up to. I actually think 3 years is too short, quite frankly. For what it's worth, I think Joe is in the middle of a 5-year contract. I believe 5 years is the max you can do, actually. So the 10-year, whatever, that's not really on the table. However, that being said, I think it would probably be supremely stupid for, a board of selectmen to hire somebody brand new and max 5 year them. My guess is they would do something shorter. So, and the risk is going to be there no matter what. But certainly the first contract would probably be a 3-year max. And then after that, if you get that Michael Jordan, then you max it up to 5 years. So for what it's worth, I think the financial risk issue is probably not what we think it is.
At Dinesh. All right, so we don't think this is ready for prime time. We do think this is ready for prime time. We want to sharpen the pencil. We want to vote as written. What are people thinking about this article?
What would be the impact if we did send it back to committee? Is it dead until?
My first question is, who's on the committee, Steve?
This article, the select board. So that's what I was thinking.
This article was drafted by the select board, the previous members of the select board, and then presented to the select board.
Thank you to Peter Wiggins. Michael Units has been our town manager since 2011.
Madam Chair.
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I don't know how other people feel, but I would be in favor of a vote to take no action on this article.
Okay. Does anyone feel strongly that they would like to move this article to be recommended and see what happens? Since no one is jumping out of their chair to say yes, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend no action on, Mike, what article is this? I've lost track of the numbers.
Article 9.
Article 9. I thought we just voted on Article 9. Was that Article 10? That was Article 10. Never mind.
That was 10. And after this, I'll tell you why this became Article 9 and what happened to Article 9.
The moving of the numbers just drives me all over the edge. All right. The chair would entertain a motion to take no action on Article 9.
Madam Chair,
No.
I make a motion that we recommend no action on Article 9.
Someone like to second that motion?
Second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, there is a motion and a second to recommend no action on Article 9. Any further questions? Hearing none. Let's vote. Paula?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Phil?
No.
Cody?
Yes.
I am also a no. That's 5-2.
Okay.
All right.
So this became Article 9 because the selectmen voted to take off the article on townwide internet. It really needs some more study. What was being proposed, the internet speeds were so slow that they wouldn't even qualify for any federal funds that are available to expand internet. So we really have to look at that again and see, what benefit there would be and if there's any way to increase those speeds, because you wonder why anyone would want to go on to an internet that's slower than what you already have. I don't know many people that would do that. So, we've got to look at that a little bit more. And so we'll work with the cable committee to come back later if there's something that we can do. And other than if you want to start voting on budgets, or if you want to hold that till next week, that's all I would have for tonight.
What do we have on the preliminary agenda for next week besides budget voting? Because I know one thing that's not on the agenda, which is minutes, but that's a story for another time.
Well, you've now voted all the special town meeting articles. There's only other than budget, there's only 2 other articles.
Oh yeah, because one of them's the sewer connection for the Yale and the high school.
Yeah. And okay. I'm waiting to hear back. I did to see if the petitioner for the motto is going to pull that article or not. I saw an email and I wasn't quite sure what he was saying, and I thought maybe he was pulling that article. So I'll hopefully get in touch with him before next week.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that the general consensus was that a motto seems like a nice idea, but we weren't sure that that motto was we would choose. So maybe it should go to a committee in town to see what they think. Right. Does anyone feel strongly they would like vote on budgets tonight? Oh, like waving arms. All right, on that note, we'll vote on budgets next week as long as everyone promises to show up, because we almost didn't have a quorum tonight. So be here or be square, budgets next week.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah,
Madam Chair, I would like it noted for the record that I took time out of my vacation for this meeting so that we would have a quorum.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate your dedication. And the record will also show that our Vice Chair, Bonnie Yazikevich, did not take time out of her vacation. So we know where we rank. That's okay.
Madam Chair,
Bill?
don't keep us in suspense. What's the issue with the minutes?
Well, I sent Mike an email today. I followed up with our secretary about a month ago on the format the minutes needed to be in, and I have not gotten any minutes since. So the old minutes need to be reformatted, and we have not seen any new minutes. So I asked Mike to please outsend.
I'll have her in and go over that. Thank you for sending that.
We will reconvene next week at 7 p.m. Monday evening. I would entertain a motion to adjourn unless there's any additional business we need to do.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
All right, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any other comments? Hearing none. Paula?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Cody?
Yes.
I too am a yes. Thank you, everyone. We will talk again next week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.